Nearly 3,000 deputies now come to Beijing, representing the will of 1.4 billion Chinese. They're from all walks of life, every ethnic group, and every distant corner of the country. They comprise China's highest state organ of power, the National People's Congress. The National People's Congress, or NPC, is constitutionally at the very top of China's state power hierarchy. In fact, the People's Congress system stretches from the state to province, city, county, and all the way to township. It has been the fundamental political system of the country for 70 years. So, how does this system work? And what does it say about democracy in China's sense? Unlike parliaments in most Western countries, China's NPC is the highest state organ of power. That means this Congress not only discharges its duty as the top legislature, but it also wields the immense power to elect national leaders, to supervise the executive, judiciary, and other state apparatus, and to make important decisions like signing treaties. This is why the NPC's once-in-a-year session is one of the most high-stakes events in China's political calendar. For most of the NPC deputies attending the sessions, this is a part-time, unpaid job. A large portion of them are ordinary technicians, farmers, migrant workers. But here in the Great Hall of the People, there are also lawmakers, supervisors, and decision makers.
目前我在广东省机械技术学院担任一名数控技术专业的教师。我所代表的群体就是我的高技能人才这个群体。我在我的原单位工作当中也会有不少的人民群众会向我积极的这个提建议，让我能够更好的履职尽责，能够为我们这个高技能人才群体，为我们的职业教育、技工教育去发声。所以说，人大代表扎根于人民，跟我的工作实际上不冲突的。
The sheer size of the deputies in the Congress illustrates its representation in the widest sense. Nearly 3,000 of them. They were elected from 34 provincial-level regions, which consists of over 2,800 county-level areas. Even though it is still very hard to cover every single group of people in this vast country, the NPC's electoral law certainly tries its best to amplify the voice of the few. Therefore, in the 14th National People's Congress, the non-Han ethnic groups, which account for only 9% of the population, have taken 15% of the seats.
我是2届的人大代表，提过有3个关于少数民族发展的建议，一个是关于要继续加大支持这个江西省少数民族教育发展的建议。还有关于这个边远山区安装这个充电桩的建议，还有关于这个少数民族文化传承的建议。我认为我们的国家呀，对少数民族地区的发展非常的关心和重视。全国人大代表选举制度保障到了少数民族参政议政的权利。
In the National People's Congress, representation translates into power to make a difference. At the NPC session last year, the deputies put forward a total of more than 8,000 suggestions, mostly targeted at all levels of the government. By last December, more than 200 government agencies responded to their calls for change and made adjustments accordingly. The end of each annual session does not mean the NPC is shutting down. On the contrary, the Standing Committee of the NPC, a 175-member permanent body, also has the power to legislate, and it carries out the cumbersome duty of legislation and other routines. In addition, the Congress also sets up 10 special committees overseeing matters in their specialized fields. During the 5-year tenure of the 13th National People's Congress alone, the special committees held more than 500 meetings.
全国人大有10个专委会，全国人大也在变。你看去年又增设了社会工委， 是吧？人大工作其實這些年，尤其是改革開放以來，其實在我們的人大的作用在鞏固發展，基本上現在應該成熟定型了。全國人大都有立法規劃的，5年，這一個界別要有哪些重大立法，還有修法，這幾年還是做了很多的。
For a bill to become law, it has to go through a rigorous process. Once a bill is proposed, either by NPC deputies, a delegation, or other legislative entities, it will often be reviewed 3 times by the NPC Standing Committee. Some important ones will be handed over to related special committees for further examination. For instance, the property law, which concerns China's basic economic system, had been reviewed 7 times before submitted to the Congress for approval. Also, the NPC will solicit public opinion for draft laws, and this has been a time-honored tradition. In 1954, 150 million Chinese participated in a national debate on the drafting of China's first constitution, which was later adopted by the First National People's Congress. Today, Chinese citizens still express their opinions on legislation through channels such as internet or letters. And since 2014, more than 6,500 contact stations for legislation have been established across the country, where people can air their suggestions face-to-face with the NPC staffs.
我的本职工作在社区嘛，所以我也喜歡平常再走一走、看一看、聊一聊。我們街道是有2個站的，那麼在聯絡站裡面有個2維碼，然後他們會掃一掃，我想找誰就可以的，會直接更加便利的、更加直接的找到我們代表。我們會經常我們會召集會議，還有我們協商議事，還有包括我們一些走法，包括一些慰問高一些調研。那我作為人大代表，我聯繫選民，還有我們調研走訪這些都需要的，也可以更加的幫助我更好的履職。
The NPC's exercise of its power is not only an epitome of democracy, but it also has huge impacts on the course of Chinese modernization. At some critical junctures, history would have been written otherwise. From the outset of the reform and opening up, it fell on the NPC the historical mission to provide a legal basis for a nationwide transformation towards a market economy. In just 3 years after the landmark Third Plenary Session of 1978, the National People's Congress and its Standing Committee passed 12 laws regarding economic reforms. Their efforts to provide law-based environment for market activities haven't stopped till now, and it helped put China on a path of meteoric economic rise that lasts over 4 decades. Other than pushing reforms through legislation, the NPC and its Standing Committee also authorized the executive branch or local agencies to launch pilot reforms, such as founding free trade zones, setting up intellectual property courts, and many others.
我的本职工作呢是中国科學院大學知識產權學院的教授。我長期關注和研究的是中國知識產權的法治和法律。我當上全國人大代表正好恰逢中國這個知識產權法的密集修改。它是在12屆全國人大這個通過了在北京、上海、廣東設立專門的知識產權法院，後來又設立了海南自貿區知識產權法院，也就是說4家知識產權法院應該在國際社會或者說其他發展中國家或者發達國家都沒有像中國如此大規模的來加大知識產權保護和設立這樣的專門的知識產權法院，應該說中國這個做的這些很了不起的事情。
And over time, the Congress is turning itself into a fastidiously working mechanism, also through legislation. It is becoming more organized, standardized, and institutionalized. In recent years, the NPC and its Standing Committee have passed or revised a series of laws to regulate their own activities, including the law on NPC deputies, the electoral law, the NPC organic law, and the legislation law. This has been done in the spirit of comprehensively advancing the law-based governance. and such efforts are making China's all-powerful state organ more law-binding than ever.
I think the essence has to do with action. And it, again, it's that people-oriented action and doing real things that improve the real day-to-day lives and long-term lives of people, and doing it in a way that doesn't harm other people, not at somebody else's expense.
Before the founding of the People's Republic of China, Mao Zedong talked about the future political designs and said, "The People's Congresses at all levels decide on major policies and elect the government." On the eve of the reform and opening up, Deng Xiaoping said, "Our democracy must be institutionalized and legalized." Xi Jinping held the first ever Central Conference on Work related to People's Congresses. He said, "Democracy is not an ornament to be used for decoration. It is to be used to solve the problems that the people want to solve." The 70-year history of the National People's Congress and the entire People's Congress system tells us what democracy looks like for many. It is said to represent the will of the people. It plays a key role when it comes to the crunch, and it never stops self-reform and self-improvement. And this is democracy in China's sense.